So depending on what kind of careers guidance professional you've got working in your school, there will still be some common things that they will be doing as part of the guidance interview. That it's really important, I think, that if you're working in a school or if you're a parent or if you're a student, that you're kind of aware of, to sort of give you the best idea of what's happening in those sessions. So I'm hoping that showing this sort of clip will kind of demystify the careers guidance process, because it can be a little bit misunderstood. So one of the first things that I would say is that actually there'll be a part that is around what we call contracting. So that's about the person that's come for the interview and the advisor having a real kind of discussion about actually what that, and I will call them the word client, which I know we don't normally use in school, but what the client actually wants out of the interview. Now, I would say that careers guidance is probably the most similar to counselling in profession, and I think you'll see that in the contracting process when you'll be looking at, actually what do you want to get out of this session? What are your aims for this? And the advisor will work with the client to kind of identify some of the goals that they want to achieve by the end of the session. And because we have quite short amounts of time usually to deliver careers guidance in a school setting, that bit can be really important to kind of frame the session and make sure that the student gets the very most out of that session. The advisor has to really get to know that person really quickly. So again, there's lots of questions, and sometimes for young people, these are the first times maybe they've been asked what their favourite subject is and why, or what their hobbies are, or what their passions are. And it can feel a little bit odd to them sometimes, because it's just kind of not something that necessarily we ask in much detail in education very much. So it's important that we support the young person to think about and explore their options. So as a guidance professional, it's my responsibility that even if a student comes with a very set idea of what they want to be, that yes, I will provide them with the information they need for that job role, but I will try to widen their ideas further as well. And it may be that, again, they'll come and talk just about A-levels, but I'll also talk about apprenticeships and I'll talk about BTECs and tech levels, because it's important, again, that they know all the options out there. Sometimes, it's easy to kind of get fixed on one route, but that might just be that that's the only route they know of. So, for example, in the clip that you'll see, you can get kind of fixed on sort of medicine because, we're familiar with doctors and maybe doctors and nurses, but maybe not understand the massive range of other healthcare roles that are out there. And actually, who's to say that there aren't lots of doctors out there working at the moment that, had they known about some of these others, might actually have thought they were better suited to those. So it is part of a careers advisor's role to widen the opportunities and the options that the student is thinking about. Sometimes it's easy for young people to get misconceptions about jobs, and it's the role of the advisor to kind of question and probe that. So, for example, quite often I get young people that maybe want to be a midwife, and they will talk a lot about the care of the child and the baby, but what they're not perhaps understanding is actually midwifery is about the care of the mother and not the baby. So the job role they're describing is a neonatal nurse. So sometimes that needs to be kind of pointed out and challenged, because they will just have simply misunderstood that role, perhaps from things they've seen on TV or magazines or people that they know, or maybe just that, to be honest, they perhaps just haven't had the time to really think and reflect on what that job role might be. So it's the careers advisor's job to there's a lot of skill going on kind of behind the interview process that perhaps isn't seen. So we're widening up the opportunities and the options that a student has. We're challenging some of the ideas they might have, and we'll also be looking at backup plans and things. So yes, if everything goes great, this is what you want to do, but what if it doesn't? And again, sometimes that can feel a little bit hurtful, I think, to some of the young people that we see, that they think that we don't believe in them to get that, and it's not that at all. It's just that actually in life, as we know, it goes up and down and plans change all the time. So being able to be open-minded about different options out there and being able to embrace some of the changes and the challenges that life is going to bring them is actually really important. And their priorities at the age they are when they're having this interview will be very different than when they're in their 20s, 30s and 40s and 50s. And part of our role is to kind of guide them through the whole lot of their life, and actually this could be the only guidance appointment they have in their lifetime. So equipping them in a very short space of time to think about the challenges they could face across a whole lifetime of work in a very changing job market with lots of advances in artificial intelligence and lots of different new job roles that we know don't exist yet appearing for them. It's actually, it's a real skill. So I think it's important that you understand what is going on as part of that guidance appointment, and that actually a significant part of that is about planning for that future. So there will be an action plan that will be written, It will be engaging and involving that person to set their own targets, to reflect back on what they have learnt through the process of the time they've had with a guidance worker, and to be able to evidence, things that they've learnt from that process. So I hope that you will understand a little bit more about what career guidance can look like. I'm not saying that the example you'll see is the perfect one, but I just wanted to show you what it can look like and what some of the things that are going on in the guidance professional's mind during that process. And there's probably thousands of other different ways of doing it, but there should be some standardisation around in terms of careers. So you should expect to see some sort of contracting, some sort of engaging, some exploring, some sort of challenging, and then some sort of planning as part of the process. Hi Charlotte, thank you for coming to see me. Your tutor said that you might want to have a careers appointment. Do you know what a careers appointment is? Have you heard of that before?
Not really, no.
What do you think we might do?
Talk about jobs or something like that?
Yeah, that's part of it. So part of it, obviously you're only in year 8, so part of it today might be looking at your option choices. It might be finding out about certain jobs. Your tutor said you were interested in medicine or something like that, is that right?
Yeah, ever since I was little I used to love playing with stuff like that, and the idea of becoming a doctor has always been something that appealed to me.
Okay, so we might look at that too. We've got about 45 minutes, so what we'll be doing is it's kind of using the time the best way possible for you. So you've mentioned about medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything particular that you'd like me to help you find out about medicine?
What about work experience? Some people at school were talking about it.
Okay, so work experience is one thing. What else? Is there anything else that you particularly want to know about?
Money.
Money, okay.
Yeah.
We can look at that. We can look at that too. And then I mentioned maybe the option choices. Is it helpful to perhaps look at that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, should be.
Okay, so options as well.
I don't quite understand what they really are.
Okay, so we can look at what they are as well. So, have you heard of anyone else having a careers appointment in school? Have you seen me around or anything?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so usually I do see a lot of the students older, but every now and then if I'm asked to see a student younger, obviously I will do. The sessions that we have are confidential. Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay, have you ever heard of the word before?
Not really.
Okay, so it means that what we talk about is going to stay within this room, apart from obviously if you said anything that might be about you being at risk or anyone else being at risk, I'd have to discuss that with your teachers.
Mm-hmm.
What I will do is I will write some notes down just so we can remember and keep track and make sure that I meet what we've agreed with you want to talk about. And I'll give you an action plan as well, which will kind of have some pointers that will hopefully record some of the things we've talked about and also maybe give you a few things to do to take away. Yeah, and I might share that action plan with other people. That's something we can discuss about. So if you're happy, we could share that back with your tutor.
Yeah.
We could share that with your parents as well if you think that would be helpful. Are you happy with that? Or would you rather it stay just between you and me?
I don't mind, really.
You don't mind. Okay. And we know obviously that there's a bit of interest in medicine. Can you tell me a bit more about other things in school that you're interested in?
I like science.
Okay, well that's very helpful.
Yeah, that is helpful.
Is that your favourite subject in school?
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
And are you kind of taught in the separate subjects like the chemistry, physics and biology, or
It's
not,
kind of
not
a
so
mixture,
much?
to be honest.
So it's all mixed up a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, are there certain topics that you've liked more than others?
Some bits I have, like I enjoy looking about the human body.
Okay, and what other subjects have you liked? What are the other favourites?
I quite like maths.
Okay. And is there a particular bit of maths that you enjoy?
Just like maths, it's fun.
Okay, that's fun. That's good. That's really good to hear. That's nice. Because you specialise in a different area.
Okay.
So there's lots that you can research when the time is right and decide whether actually you might discover another type of job role that you've never heard of before. I mean, I don't know if you thought about being an optician or...
never really.
You ever heard of anything called occupational health?
No.
They kind of meet and help people to, after they've had operations or maybe if they've been poorly, to kind of get back to their normal life. So, but there's lots and lots of jobs on here, so it would be worth you having a look at this one. And then the other website that would be really useful for you, I should write one down. I'll say you'll get all of this in the action plan as well. Is have you actually heard of the National Career Service?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so the National Career Service. What do you think it might be? It was sort of in the name.
Website or thing about careers.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, one bit of it is a website, but the other really nice bit is they've got careers advisors that you can contact when you want to at time, so they can do it by text or by web chat, 8 till 10, 7 days a week. So you can, if you have a burning question in the future and you can't get hold of somebody or you can't find me in school or whatever, then you can obviously look on this and get a question answered. The bits that I'll show you that are useful is so you could put any job title in here. So obviously we'll put occupational health in actually because you didn't know so much about that one. And let's hope it's there. There it is. Okay, so an occupational therapist is here. And so you mentioned about salaries being important to you, and this website's really good for that. So it says your average salary.
Wow.
So it says a starting salary and then an experience salary and the kinds of hours you'd work. So if you didn't want to do shift work but you still wanted to find a job that was helping people, then you could do some research and find lots of other different ones. It tells you how to become it and what you'd need to do. So this is 2 to 3 A levels for a degree, and then
this is really helpful
in a relevant subject.
See what you needed to become these jobs.
Yeah, and there's lots of other different routes in. I mean, you mentioned nurse. Have you thought about nursing at all?
No, not overly.
Yeah. So I mean, there is actually an apprenticeship route into nursing. Do you know what I mean by apprenticeship?
I don't know very much about careers.
That's fine. So you know I said about those options you've got post 16. So remember after the exams, after your GCSEs, you've got the college option. You've got sixth form option where you could do A levels. There's lots of other vocational. Now vocational just means like jobs basically. So like if you want to work in health and social care and you wanted to go and get a job when you leave school, you have to do some sort of training. You can't just leave and get any old job. But an apprenticeship usually is when you have like 4 days a week working and 1 day a week of college, and you kind of learn the theory behind what you're doing in that job the 4 days a week. So you can actually do a higher apprenticeship in nursing. So after you've done those A levels or those BTEC, instead of going to university, you could qualify as a nurse without going to university. So there are some advantages to that. Can you imagine what that might be?
Well, it gives you a chance to do some work and have money.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So you get paid for it, which is obviously a bonus for a lot of people. You don't get the student debt as well. So I mean, again,
becoming a doctor can be quite expensive.
Yeah, as I say, it's a long period of study. So let's just look at the doctor one here, just as a comparison in terms of the salaries, because you said you wanted to know the salary. Okay, so can you tell me 2 things that you've learnt from chatting with me today that you didn't know before?
Quite a lot about work experience and like how I can tick my options and what they are, because I actually didn't know what they were before today.
Okay, so that's good to know. So right, now we need to start looking at this action plan. So looking at things that you're going to do that are going to help you.
Can you write down the names of the websites, please?
Yeah. So I think that's probably... Which of those websites do you think you'd find the most useful to use first?
Probably both of them, I think. I think they were both helpful.
Which ones do you mean by both? Because I showed you more than 2.
The one where it made me seem an animal.
Yes, that's I Could. Yeah.
And then the one actually done by the NHS.
Okay. And when do you think you'll be able to do that by? Have a look at those, do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
When do you think that's?
Maybe like I'll try and do it maybe in a week, so it's nearly the holidays, so I might be able to do them some holidays and look at them.
So do you think if I said that you did it by the Friday of the week back after half term?
Yeah.
Because remember, I'm going to email this to your tutor, so this needs to be something you can do.
Yeah, I can do this.
Okay.
Definitely.
So you're going to do a bit of research on those 2 online. Okay. What else are you going to do?
I'm going to try and think more about the doctor idea and try to just really see if it's really for me, because I don't know.
Okay. Have you spoken to your science teacher about wanting to be a doctor? Do they know?
No, they don't.
No? Do you think that would be useful for them to know?
Yeah.
Because they might be running trips and activities and workshops and things, because there are quite a lot of workshops that happen, and if they know that that's something you're keen on, they might be able to talk you through that, or maybe give you some extra reading on that. So if I put down to speak to your science teacher, when can you do that by?
I see him in a few days, so I can.
So by the end of this week?
Yeah.